So what is the point of working exactly? I think it's important to ask that question, because if you don't know why what you're doing is important, you cease to treat it as if it is important, right? You'll cut corners, you'll find workarounds, you'll find loopholes to make whatever task you have been given easier and, more convenient, right? It makes sense. So why do we work? What's the point of it? How much work is good and how much is bad? Here's a better question. What work is necessary for society to exist and thrive? Essentially, what are the essential jobs, right? Some that come to mind off the top of my head is truckers, warehouse workers, food companies, farmers, right? Basically, individuals that provide essential goods or people that transport essential goods. Clothing, indoor plumbing, electricity, a whole lot of that stuff. If you don't have people who do those jobs, society actually becomes at risk from a strictly functional standpoint. And we know this because in the pandemic, when only essential workers were the ones who were actually going to work and everyone else was staying home, society did not crumble. It was going. And the only real issues we're dealing with COVID right now is the amount of money we paid everyone who wasn't working, as a form to give them money to buy groceries and to, sustain themselves while they were not working, because they assumed that not everyone had emergency funds, which I think is a correct assumption, but that's besides the point. The point is that society, from a functional standpoint, did not crumble when everyone stopped working during COVID. Sometimes I wonder about the efficiency of a lot of our jobs as well. Something I think about is the military. I'm done with the military, but it's left its mark on me. And I think in some good ways, and I think also some bad ways. One of the worst ways the military's left its mark on me is I have a high culpability to being a yes man. You see, in the military, when you question authority, you're silently punished. What I mean by that is, if they cannot outrightly tell you you're wrong for questioning them, they will do so in a passive, tactful, respectful manner, think very politically correct, almost politic-wise, right? That's how they'll correct you when you ask why we do what we do. And I understand sometimes you don't have time to ask why. Some things need to be done quickly and efficiently. You just have to go and do it, and I get that. But there are some things where we have time. You're just refusing to take that time and work with it. And I get it, we're all human. We all have our own errors and our own flaws. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point is that the military left a mark on me to where I am very culpable to being a yes man. Because being a yes man is very easy. It's very easy to just go ahead and say, yes sir.
Hazard reported ahead on US 81 south and half a mile. You're still on the fastest route.
Thank you, phone. Got a hazard up ahead. But that is a real mark the military has left on me. Oh boy. And frankly, I wonder if that's going to negatively affect me for a foreseeable future. I got done with the military quite literally today. It was one of the most stressful days I've ever had as a member of the military. And I've been accused of committing crimes. I've been accused of things I didn't do. I've been put into very hard positions back when I was active duty. And even that wasn't as stressful because I had a proper support group and I had, a light at the end of the tunnel. The stressor I had today was confrontation of authority, and frankly, that's a huge weakness of mine. I have a hard time confronting authority when I think authority has done something wrong. I really do. I'm not necessarily saying that the individuals I spoke with were 100% wrong. I don't think that. Frankly, I saw their perspectives and their points of view, and frankly, I agreed with like 90% of what they said, except for a couple of things. But the point was not really the topics at hand. It was more so the presentation of topics. Point is, the military has left a mark on me that I think has made me worse off. I also remember having a lot more passion and empathy and interest in things in general before being in the military for a couple of years. And I have become very jaded with life, with work. The job I do, I wonder if it's really essential work. I really do wonder. I work out on a college, for Pete's sake. That can't be essential work nowadays. If anything, I'm feeding the beast. If anything, I am a part of the problem as a person who works on a college campus. Now, you can indirectly do some good on college campuses. You can be a good influence to young people who are getting educated, but at the end of the day, you're helping sustain the college industry, which is designed to keep young people slaves to their debt until they're, old and gray, and then they retire, and then they die after 5 years of retirement. So all that money goes back into the system, goes back into the beast. All I know is that I don't want to work 40 hours a week for the rest of my life. Hell, I don't want to work 40 hours a week for the next 15 years. Life is precious. Even if I really do live to 120 years old, or some nonsense like that, which I mostly joke when I say stuff like that, but I've also heard that there's some truth to that concept. That if you really do dial in your health and your nutrition and you eat the food.
Hazard reported ahead on US 81 south and half a mile. You're still on the fastest route.
Thank you, Siri. Keeping me safe. If I really dial in my health and I dial in my nutrition, I dial in my lifestyle, supposedly I can actually live past 100 years with a high quality of life too, on top of it. And yet, I still value my time. I don't want to waste it being a slave to people who, frankly, don't have any care or consideration to me in the long run. At the end of the day, no matter what job I have, no matter what I do for work, I'm replaceable. I can be fired at a moment's notice. There's no way to get around that fact. It's that I am a cog in a machine, and ultimately that machine can always replace me. I'm part of the
Hazard
machine.
reported ahead on US 81 south and half a mile. You're still on the fastest route.
Thank you for telling me. And you're only a part of that machine for as long as you are considered valuable and necessary. The moment you're not considered valuable or necessary, they can get rid of you. And frankly, I don't like that. Like, I'm not saying I want to live my life doing luxurious things, right? I don't want to waste a bunch of money on things that ultimately is not going to give me any value or peace or purpose in life or experiences. And I know that a lot of the things I can experience, I can enjoy, really don't cost that much money. Hiking? You kidding me? spend not even probably $50 on gas. It's like driving a fucking hybrid Prius. Go to some mountain in Colorado for like, I don't know, when I have 3 days off. Go hiking by myself or with somebody. I don't mind. I don't care. That doesn't have to cost a lot of money. The only reason things cost so much money is because we live in a consumer society / debt society. If they can't get you in debt, they'll try and get you to consume. And if they can get you to consume, they'll try and get you in debt. I mean, Lord, look at credit cards. Credit cards are the biggest scam in the world. They serve only really two functional purposes that most people never really take advantage of. And the reason they don't take advantage of it is because it's not really applicable to most people. Like, for example, if you're a person who has a lot of traveling overseas, it's smart to have a credit card, because if your credit card gets scammed, the credit card company will be able to fight the false charges on the card. But if it's your debit card, you're fucked, right? So, I mean, that makes sense. But how many people do you know actually travel overseas regularly for work who have a credit card? Right, I don't know anyone either. And that's kind of the point I'm getting at here. Credit cards are designed to get you in debt and keep you in debt. Car payments are designed to get you in debt and keep you in debt. Hell, houses, the cost of housing has gone up astronomically in comparison to the rise of income. It used to be an individual, one person, could make enough money on 40 hours a week to not only have a wife, not only have kids, but to be a homeowner, like own their own home. And people are telling me that, like, oh, you can do these things too. I'm like, yeah, but I'm gonna have to work 10 times as hard. And frankly, as much as I hope to get married, and as much as I am putting in the work, and I'm putting myself out there, and I'm taking care of myself, and I'm making myself somebody that actually, someone would want to marry. I don't even know if there's any women I want to marry nowadays. It just seems like all the women I come across, or all the women that are out there, are either 304s, or they're pretend nice, gal next door type stuff, And the thing is like, this is not a female nature thing. This is a culture thing. The West has ruined women. Hell, you can bring a freaking lady who spent most of her most influential years in a third world country where they have traditional values, and she can become completely, transformed, essentially transformed by the West. The West's form of culture is it's toxic, it's neurotic. What it does to men and women, to be frank, and people don't harp on men in the right ways. They crap on men for all the wrong reasons, And here's the thing: the problems that men have today within themselves, they are by design. They're trying to make men weak. And frankly, I look at myself as a prime example of that. I love my father, but I know I'd be better off right now from my mindset, my maturity, and my masculinity if my father was more physically, hour by hour present in instruction and influence and mentorship in my earlier and more formative years. But he was always so busy working, as that was his job. He had to. His options were to work or to, not have enough money to take care of us. So obviously he had to go ahead and work. So I don't blame him for that at all, but I'm still able to realize the damage that has caused to myself and my siblings. I really do think about that. And I wonder, am I going to be able to make time for my kids? doing the math, and I should be pretty good, well off financially. But again, is there even a woman out there who's worth marrying in the West? And I try to have this conversation with my dad. I try to. And it just does not seem like it ever really hits him. Divorce rates are at such an all-time high, and pretty much all divorces are initiated by women. And the chances of you getting divorced are even higher if the woman's gone to college, statistically. Obviously, not every woman who's gone to college is more likely to divorce you, but statistically, they are. Colleges themselves are just a place for debt to accrue and for ladies to, explore, if you know what I'm talking about. And frankly, I don't want to be some gal's fifth guy. I really don't. Because for one, I have some self-respect for myself. I don't want to be some gal's chump who thinks that I'm the guy who found her, when in reality, she has been running through guys, and she realizes that no guys are committing, and she changes her strategy to retain a guy. And I happen to just be the first guy that's the new strategy is being put on, and I don't want to end up like that. For multiple reasons. I think the biggest, of course, is, again, I don't want to be some gal's freaking sloppy seconds. I really don't. And, secondly, of course, is like, if a lady is going to be doing that, that means she is not content and she's not satisfied with the guy that she's trying to get a relationship with anyways. Because she wasn't able to get the guy she was interested in to commit. Because those guys would go ahead and they'd play house and they'd run home when they were done. And then these gals realize, okay, I need to find a guy who will actually play the game for the long haul. And what ends up happening is they'll get into a relationship with a guy that maybe they feel secure around, but they're not necessarily attracted to, because, again, they're not attracted to this guy. Otherwise, they would have gone to him in the first place. And the reality of divorce is so real. The reality is such a real thing. And listen, every single guy who gets married goes into the marriage thinking that it's not gonna be me. It won't be me getting divorced. It won't be me paying alimony and child support and losing my house and losing essentially all of the money I've saved up over the last 10, 15 years before I even met this woman. Like, that's not fair. Not only is that not fair, not only is that corrupt, but you're essentially encouraging women to divorce their husbands for financial gain and profit. How jacked up is that? How jacked up is that? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm of the opinion that my thought processes about all of this are not accidental, that they're by design, and that the reason I'm having these doubts and these concerns is to prevent me from getting married and to prevent me from having children, because that is a way I can actually influence society for the better. As an individual, there's only so much you can do. Get yourself a team of guys together, build yourself a community. You'd be surprised the things you can do, that you really can do, and the influences you can have, and the changes you can help make as a father. Heck, as an active father. Like, if I was able to find a way to take care of all the bills and live frugally, and let's say I found a gal and I was able to vet her properly, let's hope, And, this is a lot of vans, right? A lot of vans. And I was able to actually be present in my children's lives. I still don't even know if I have enough money to feed them all proper diets, right? I've learned how jacked up American food is, and how the snack industry, the food industry, and the pharma industry are all in cohorts with each other, and they build off of one another. And so when you take that into account, I have to make sure I feed my kids whole foods and avoid all the garbage that they don't need for their benefit. But I wonder if I can even afford to do that. I wonder if I'll be able to even afford to do that 10 years from now. I wonder what the world's going to be like 10 years from now. They just dropped bombs in freaking Iran. So, I don't know what that's going to mean. I don't know what that's going to turn into. Chances of me are not zero for me getting reactivated. I still got about 2 more years in the IRR. Right? So, gotta take that into consideration. You really do. It's a big, scary world out there. With a lot of people who want to see people bleed. Everyone's confused, everyone's angry, everyone's sad. No one is stopping and no one is thinking about their actions and why they do what they do, why they do what they're told to do. That's another reason I couldn't just be in the military anymore. I'm tired of being told what to do and what to think. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of living my life like that. I can't. I cannot in good standing continue to live like that. Not only do I find it demeaning, and not only do I find it irritating when a person who's in a position of authority over me doesn't simply say, hey, individual, go do this. Or, hey, individual, go do that. And they're just, prim and proper about it. They just say, hey, just go do this. I can say, all right, good to go. I'm just go do it. They have to be extra about it. Like, they'll be a prick sometimes. They'll say it in a sarcastic manner that's, it's funny the first 10 times, and then it just becomes annoying after 100. And if you multiply that by like 5 years, you get really tired of it. You get really tired of hearing that crap. And it never stops. You just keep hearing it in new forms from different people. And like when you're the minority in these groups, it makes it 1,000 times harder to speak out against that kind of stuff. But anyways, I like having freedom. I like having the ability to express my thoughts and to not have to answer to an authority anymore. That is a valuable freedom that I will not take for granted again. Anyways, this video is getting so dang long, I doubt anyone's going to watch the whole darn thing. I'm just trying to make videos at this point because I like it, I enjoy it. And of course, I'm trying to keep myself from falling asleep. I've still got at least an hour and a half of driving. I won't get home till 1, but I enjoy this. And hopefully you do too. Whomever is watching these videos, dear viewer. Oh man, stay smoky.